Welcome to Flick Flop's Cult Classics, the podcast where we dive feet first into the wild and wonderful world of films that have earned cult status. Each episode, we'll flip the script on cinema's most intriguing and unconventional films, exploring the hidden gems and eccentric creations that have captured the hearts of dedicated fans. From the bizarre to the brilliant, these are the movies that may have flopped at the box office but soared in the cult scene. So grab your popcorn and get ready to challenge your movie taste. This is Flick Flop's Cult Classics. This week we discuss Rollerball, the 1975 action sci-fi film starring James Caan and John Houseman. In the film, we explore a corporate-controlled alternative future where the ultra-violent sport called Rollerball is the world's biggest fascination. Caan plays a superstar athlete of the game who's under pressure to retire, but he fights back against the entity that took his life and his wife from him. Are we card-carrying compatriots of the cult classics? Find out in this episode of Flick Flops Cult Classics.
Yeah, Rollerball, man.
Well, first of all, a whole new set of flick flops.
Yeah,
another vein of flick flops are doing, much like the Red Rewind. So
very veiny and meaty. Oh wait,
ew, ew.
I turned weird.
So anyway,
Rollerball. I think this was one I suggested. God, I grew up loving this movie. Did. Let me jump into the numbers real quick, and we'll start discussing it. This film came out in 1975, which keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes has the critics have it at 67, the audience has it at 62. Technically, it's fresh. I like that. The budget for this thing back in then was $5 to $6 million. They didn't have an exact number, and the box office it brought in around $30 million. So I'm guessing it made its money back. It's decent. This was written by William Harrison. Excuse me, I got a cough.
William Henry Harrison?
No. Yeah, you're going way too back.
Okay, too far. Right. Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Sorry. I just went to some other place with but boy, that version look like. William Harrison wrote this film. He also wrote the modern translation of a version of it, the 2002 version.
Okay.
This was directed by Norman Jewison, who was famous for, he had also done Injustice for All.
You're out of order! You're out of order! The whole trial is out of order! They're out of order!
The Hurricane, that Denzel Washington film in the 90s, I think, and also Moonstruck. So he has a nice pedigree as a director. And that's it on that. I believe, and let me double check one note here I got here. I believe, yeah, Harrison actually had written the short story. This was a short story that was published in Esquire back in 1973 called Rollerball Murder. So, he wrote it, and he'd written something else, but I didn't write it down because
was that during when roller derby was big? Is that where this came from?
I'm thinking it was, and I meant to go back and read the short story, and I just didn't.
Instead, you watched both the 1975 one and the 2000 whatever version.
I did. So after I watched this, I was like, well, I gotta watch the modern version, right? Because someone felt compelled to redo it. I was like, yeah, I'm with you, brother.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that was not good. I'll give you a quick numbers on the 2002 version.
Okay.
Rotten Tomatoes has it sitting at 3 with the critics.
3. Wow.
And 14 with the audience. And I think that is rather generous. That movie was hard to watch. And I love the concept of Rollerball. I truly do.
Yeah.
I still think it's a fantastic idea as a sport. The movie. Yeah.
Well, we could get into that, but I will say two things, two questions. Well, first of all, on the film set, I understand that they would play this game. I had read somewhere that they enjoyed the idea of the game so much that they would actually play it between takes and different stuff, which is interesting. Was this, and I was talking about this earlier with another friend of mine, was this during the time period of on TV? Do you recall? Do you remember on TV?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this is
loved on TV.
Okay. And to all you younger folks, even the friend I was talking to had no idea. So
Gary
on
will
TV,
endeavor to put an on TV graphic in right about now.
Gosh, if I could find one. So that was the precursor, basically, to cable TV, and you'd have a box sitting on your television. And what was it, 64? I think you turn it to 64 at a certain
Yeah,
time,
yeah. Oh.
and then switch it on,
Mhm.
and then it would be like an
It
HBO
was from
type
like
channel.
Yeah, it was from like 7 PM to like midnight, and
Yeah,
you could get premium movies. It was this. It
right.
was this is where I saw some of the movies I've suggested, Gary. This Over the Edge, which I'm hoping we do at some point in time. I saw on TV because they
Yeah.
weren't premium movies; they were just movies they could get.
Well, that was like The Warriors was on there.
The
I
Warriors,
remember.
yeah,
Um,
on
I
TV.
believe Escape from New York I might have seen on there. I kind of feel like that might have been one of the ones. So yeah, a lot of the movies that probably even fall into this category called classic.
It was great because you just all you
Yeah.
had was a switch on and
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock, you could turn it to on, and you had a separate antenna on top of your house. It was an L-shaped antenna,
Yeah.
and it would receive a signal from this pirate network.
Now, can you imagine the marketing meetings for on TV? What are we going to call it?
Oh,
Well, well, it's a switch, right? You just turn
Yeah,
it on.
just-
That's why are we making this a mystery? Let's just call it on
stop
TV.
right there. That's all we got to do. All right, let's go
Anyway.
have a 4 martini lunch.
So I just wanted to bring that up because I was thinking, you know what? I'm pretty sure that's where I saw this movie.
Yeah.
So that's setting a time period for me. What are we talking about? About 6? We were about 6 years old. 7. I don't know what time on TV was. So
we had it after it was at least 1977, 78.
no, now that I think about it, we had it when we lived. It would have been 80, 81-ish.
That's what I was thinking, around 80, 81, because my parents weren't going to spring for cable because that was a bridge too far.
Right.
And I don't know if cable was down our street at that time. I mean, again, the younger generation doesn't understand a world that didn't have cable and Wi-Fi available. We didn't even Wi-Fi wasn't even the word back then. We didn't know what that meant.
Right. And we had like 4 channels to watch TV or something. So yeah. And you had to get up and go over and
I was the early remote control in our house.
yeah,
Andy, go change the channel. All right, let's get back to the film.
Yeah, sorry, back to Rollerball.
So this is again, my brother and I were one of our favorites. We always would watch this movie when it was on. And the idea of the sport of rollerball, I loved. And in my research on it, Gary, the movie was popular enough that someone tried to buy the rights to the game and make it an actual sport.
That's hilarious.
And the person who owned it, which I believe is the William Harrison guy, he was so frustrated with the thought that somebody wanted to make the sport that they missed the
the
concept.
Point. Yeah,
the point was that our world is so dystopian that we pay to watch people get hurt. And the guy's like, yeah, people will pay to see it. He's like, no, I don't want that. I'm trying to prevent that.
Yeah.
In a future world. Now, keep in mind, his future world, Gary, do you know what year this was based in?
No, I'm curious.
2018.
Really?
So none of this came to fruition. We did not. Everything wasn't in these digital number fonts.
Yeah.
So going back and watching this film, I had not seen this movie probably in a solid 30 years. And it was funny because I texted my brother, say, "Hey, man, I'm ready to watch Rollerball." His response was like, "Hell yeah!" And I was like, "Chainsaw." You're missing the point. So anyway, I rewatched it. I will say this: I still enjoy the film. Does it hold up? Well, I'm not a huge dystopian, futuristic. I don't get into all that because we always miss the mark when we make these films about the future and how bleak it's going to be.
Yeah. I
mean, again, now that we've lived past the time frame of this movie, and I'm like, yeah, we weren't even close to what you guys thought. The things that I thought were funny, again, you're looking back in time on this, so you have to always watch it with a different filter. So you find it funny, but yet you don't take it serious. I wrote notes of the first note I wrote and I had to scratch out because I figured it would be explained at some point in time. When you first see the guys out there just on roller skates and they're skating around in a big oval like roller derby, and they do a big pan out like a wide shot, and I saw fire extinguishers. I'm like, what the fuck's a fire extinguisher? I got, how what's going to happen? They need a fire extinguisher. And then I forgot, oh, yeah, there's motorcycles.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, you need them.
Scratch that note out. I loved when they showed the controller, right? The guy that sits in his chair who controls the release of the ball.
Yeah.
And they're like, test your computerized equipment. And he's just flicking switches. Lights are going off and on. He's like, all systems go. I'm like, all systems on. I mean, what you just whoo.
Those are my favorite parts about the future for back then.
Future, it's just blinking boards of lights.
Yeah, buttons and switches.
And helmets are like, yep. Everybody's so serious.
Yeah.
It's like, keep in mind, in this age, in 1975, we had sent spaceships into outer space. So you could have had something a little more technical, and you got to figure if you're in the future, maybe more than just some blinking lights might be the future of testing equipment. But I digress. The thing I found incredibly enjoying was the audience members. When you'd go to root for your team, be it Houston, which is the team this is based after, or Tokyo, or whatever, they didn't have the team name. They just had the team colors and the word rollerball. I don't know if you caught that.
No.
But I was like, oh, what team am I rooting for? Oh, yeah, because you're wearing Houston's colors, but your shirt just says rollerball in that awesome font.
Right. That's called marketing. They just wanted to keep pushing that name.
That's the Gene Simmons class of marketing, man. Just keep saying, just put Kiss on everything. I also love that in the future, everything was a sliding door.
Yeah.
Like, okay. We live in 2024, and we still don't have a lot of that. Even at the grocery store, the doors don't work fast like that. You walk into them more than you don't.
Yeah.
And then the only other note that I wanted to make on this is James Caan is the star. Now, how big do you think James Caan was at this time? Like, how big was this film? How big of a get was he? So keep in mind, this was filmed in 70.
When was
5? So he had already done Godfather 1 and 2.
That's what I was going to say. Godfather, was that 2 by then?
He was pretty big. And he'd also, keep in mind, he'd been in a film called Brian's Song, which I've never seen, but it was a huge film in 71, I think.
Yeah. I kind of remember that. I will put it down the bottom there.
Interesting. Caan, and I thought this film should have probably been bigger. But in hindsight, you look back at it, the story's not great. And again, it's this dystopian thing, and I'm not a big fan of that. I know, Gary, you read more of the fantasy. You probably read way more sci-fi than I ever read, so maybe you're okay with this stuff.
And out of the technical issue there, got that back. Let's see, what were we talking about? So
to ask you about, because I know you read more sci-fi than I ever read in my entire life.
Yeah.
So are you down with this dystopian, or does that kind of like not?
I enjoy the thought of those types of stories. Like there's some that I like, but it's funny because it's become like there's a lot of it out now over the past like 10 years or so. There's been a lot of books and stuff written like that. Hunger Games being one of them. That's like a really big one, but
and I've never seen that. I mean, I don't know. Is it any?
Yeah, I mean, they're pretty good. I'll say on this movie, like trying to recall everything about it, I remember enjoying it as a kid. I remember really liking it. And I think it's just the sport itself that attracted me, which is sad for William Harrison or whoever it was, or whoever. I think it was William Harrison. You said,
yeah, he is the right.
I thought the rest of the movie was super boring.
It is.
I felt like the message that they're trying to give, that this one athlete is sort of like they're rooting him on and all this stuff, and it seemed like it was explained very well. It just didn't seem like that was it didn't earn that, I guess. I don't know. It just seemed like it was really, and maybe I just missed something because I was getting so bored during parts of it that I was like, not finding this that as entertaining as I did as a kid. I don't understand.
The gist of the plot, if you base it on just watching the movie, is that Energy Corporation, the massive corporation that does whatever Energy Corporation does, they want Jonathan E. to retire, which is
Right.
Michael James Caan. I said Michael Caan. It's James Caan, and they want him to retire. He doesn't want to retire.
Right.
So then it turns into this whole. Well, then we'll just kill him on
Well,
the.
but that was kind of dumb. But
And
part
I'm
of
like,
it was also that they took his wife.
Well, they took his wife, and I'm like, why do you want him to retire? Like, the guy's just star of the show. It's like saying, hey, LeBron, we want you to retire. I don't want to retire. Well, then we're just going to kill you on the court.
Yeah, we don't want to make
Okay,
we don't want to make more money from you.
Yeah, we don't want the money. The fans love you. You're beloved by the world. Yeah, let's get rid of him.
I think that was I think maybe that was supposed to be the point that that he was becoming bigger than the game.
Corporate people are stupid.
Well, that too, but you know,
I work for corporations. I knew that. You don't need a movie to tell me that.
Yeah, really.
So
I don't know. I guess that was just kind of lost the plot for me.
The plot doesn't make a lot of sense, and that's unfortunate. But I think you were spot on with your thing. That I think it's the sport that when I think of me and my brother, Chainsaw, the whole thing is that we love the idea of, like, I would pay money right now to go see if there was rollerball, professional rollerball. I would go see that right now.
I think it would be entertaining.
It'd be nuts.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, because we do, oddly enough, I mean, just like when we watch football, do you not love seeing a quarterback get blindside sacked or a receiver just get laid out? Not to get hurt, but like just a good solid hit.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what we are as a society. We're all kind of just.
I mean, I wouldn't want to watch this, I guess, if the deaths were happening. Although there were some that was hilarious. I don't know.
When they hold the guy's head against the rail.
There's some ridiculous.
And the ball gets fired at it.
Yeah. There's some really ridiculous.
But the idea of, like, they get behind the motorcycle and it slingshots them up into the thing, like, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And if you fast forward to the 2000, the 2002 version, it just becomes just a big Nitro Circus performance is all it is. The plot isn't even there. The plot's atrocious in the second one. It gets worse. If you imagine that, it gets worse. But you add LL Cool J, and it's suddenly now it's awesome.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't have. I know I saw that, but I don't remember it at all. So there's probably.
I didn't see it when it came out. I was like, oh, I love the idea of it. Then I heard so many bad reviews. I'm like, I'm not watching this.
Yeah.
So I didn't, and I'm like, well, I'm glad I didn't, I guess. And then here I am now rewatching. So
sucker.
All
right. Yeah. Well, I guess. So the way that we're going to review these is we're just going to talk about the movies a little bit since they're called classics, rather than assign a number to them, which I think is kind of weird when you're talking about older movies that you're watching with a new eye, or maybe you just weren't in that time period. You didn't catch the movie when it was during the zeitgeist of it or whatever. But I feel like a better rating system for these is: are you a member of the cult that loves this movie, or are you not a member?
Yeah.
And so with that, you want to go first, or I can go? Whichever.
I will go first if you want to.
Go for
it. For me, I will be. I'm still a member.
Still,
I would still. The way I look at it is, would I watch this again if it's coming on? And I'm like, I think I would. I wouldn't watch the new one, but I would probably watch this one. And I wouldn't watch the whole thing, but I'm in the mood to watch some violent roller derby.
Yeah.
So I would watch it, and then I would probably just, I'd probably flip over to another channel that's constantly running A Few Good Men or Shawshank Redemption and just get back to that.
All right. Well, by the way, I predicted that. I told Tara what I thought you're going to be.
Yeah.
We'll see. We got other ones that we're doing. I want to see where we land on that, but I have a prediction. I was correct on that.
Yeah.
I predicted that you would be a member and that not a member.
I kind of got that feeling the way you were talking. I was like, I can see Gary probably never watching this again.
I won't. And the thing is that, like, this type of movie, the idea of the movie is right up my alley. it's got a sport to it, and it's got a sci-fi bent, to it. But the plot was it's just not there. It's so slow, and I can't. For me, I couldn't. The sport itself, there just wasn't enough of that to sustain it for me, and so I could just do without it. But I don't blame anybody for enjoying the movie and that loved it at the time. I know I did as a kid, but I'm just not there anymore. So
well, I figure it took me probably 30 years to rewatch it. So
yeah,
I figure by the time if I make it to 84, I'll probably be sitting in a chair in a home somewhere.
watching,
and I'll just be like
Rollerball.
scrolling movies like, oh, Rollerball. I like that movie.
That's a good. What the hell's going on?
I'll get in my wheelchair, like, where's Gary at? And I'll make a ball up and just kind of come bashing him. Like, Gary, remember Rollerball? And you're like, I got some guy like, I'm not Gary. Who are you talking to?
He's been gone for a while. Wait a minute.
You're still in Tennessee. He's in Cincinnati, dummy. Ah.
Oh, well, we'll just wrap it up here. Got anything else to say?
I don't.
Hope you enjoyed our new like flops called classics vein that we're trying out here. But we'll still be doing the regular flip flops as well, and we'll still be doing retro rewinds. So we're just trying to expand a little bit, and we hope you like it. Give us a thumbs up if you did. Like, comment, subscribe, and let us know your thoughts on Rollerball, the 1975 version.
Yeah.
Bye.
This has been a Touch of Madness production, brought to you by the creative minds at Tommy Twins Media.